Welcome to another episode of the State of the Bulldogs. Sam, Mike, Jeb, and Grant. Boys, we didn't do an emergency pod, but Bucky Ball is over. Living on in the distant lands of College Station. Bucky is gone, headed to A&M. That's the headline of the weekend for Samford Nation, and our entire team is basically in the portal. So, Grant, Mike, with that said, how are we doing? We did beat Wofford in baseball. So that was nice, but still.
I think if we did an instant reaction pod, I'd be too sad to even talk.
Yeah.
Like, that's how down I was.
Yeah. I think I'm sadder today after his press conference than I was Friday night. It's just hitting hard.
Yeah. A little surreal when it was announced, and then seeing him in the just god-awful maroon and the Adidas logo, just two not great
with the thumbs up,
brands.
and then the sawing them off at the press conference is like
level of sawing them off. All for that. But just we knew he was going to leave at some point. We all thought it was going to be after the Kansas loss. We were grateful for this last year. We really thought we would get one more because it felt like so much business was left unfinished. How do we feel about it?
That's the joke
being
we had.
A&M?
Didn't see this coming. I joked with y'all when the A&M job came open after Buzz Williams went to Maryland. Crazy dominoes that we found ourselves with Buzz going to Maryland. We get into that later. But yeah, like A&M, I even joked with y'all. I said, I hope A&M doesn't look Chris Beard's way in Ole Miss, because Bucky will definitely end up at Ole Miss as the next head coach. And then 48 hours later, with Beard turning A&M down, staying at Ole Miss, and then A&M was like, oh yeah, we'll pivot to the coach in homeless. So I said, that's your pivot? You go from Chris Beard, who you're going to spend $8 to $10 million on with the $10 million roster, and your pivot is to Homewood, Alabama, for the guy who's been a college coach for 5 years?
Yep.
Yeah, tough to tell how great of a job A&M is. I mean, the fact that Buzz left for Maryland, which seems like a lateral, maybe backwards move, maybe not, because Maryland and Big Ten care about basketball, but kind of weird that Chris Beard wouldn't go back when he's from Texas. He's got all the the connections in Texas, so I hope it's a good opportunity for him. I hope they can give him the money that he needs to recruit and build a competitive roster. But definitely shocked. Did not think that. You're thinking maybe he goes like Mississippi State, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, like lower end SEC school, but a school like A&M with the resources and expectations they have, that's a pretty big jump.
I mean, go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, I always thought like the Southeast teams, the SEC, those are going to be teams you look toward if that gets open. Vandy was open a couple of years, or last cycle he didn't get that one. Again, you had the Mississippi connection. Maybe LSU is kind of in that mix as well, but still, like A&M coming out of nowhere, and that's their pivot to go to Bucky. Like, even we joked throughout the year, so hey, I know we're losing games, but I guess this means we get to keep Bucky one more year. Then sure enough, we still, finish fourth, lose the first round of the SoCon tournament, lose the NIT after being off spring break and hungover probably at the same time, and then we go to our coach actually going to Texas A&M after we joked like, oh yeah, we'll have him one more year, we'll be fine.
I think this officially settles who the best coach in the SoCon was, because guess who's still sitting in Chattanooga in Travelers Rest? Dan Earl and Bob Ritchie. So it's not even close, right? Money speaks. This is a free market, and
Dan Earl
the free market chose Bucky.
And Dan Earl just put together an incredible run to win the NIT.
What is that?
Like, why would they?
Yeah, exactly.
Kidding.
Why would they not go after him?
Hey, even I tweeted at the A&M AD, it's like, I said, Trev Alberts, Dan Earl was right there. What are we doing? You didn't have to do this to us, man. What are we doing?
It is Trev Alberts. He doesn't exactly have the most fantastic track record as an AD. But with that said, Bucky certainly has a challenge in front of him, not only getting kids to come to College Station outside of money, but also just playing in the cutthroat SEC with no roster. I mean, you got to think about all the coaches that are going to be returning with programs in place. Going to be an uphill climb, but it is cool. Like to a certain degree, it is really cool to see Bucky's ascent be so rapid, which is also wild. He was in Mountain Brook 5 years ago, or right before COVID.
Admittedly, the funniest outcome of this would be him just to fill a whole team of SoCon portal all-stars and just see if he can go beat SEC teams. Like a Chore jumps in the portal, Huff's in the portal, go get him, grab all your Samford guys and find a way.
And he would be on the hot seat like Lamont Paris was when he tried that exact same strategy. It does not work out. It does not work out.
Yeah.
I am really excited to see not this first year. This first year is going to be ugly,
Yeah.
but his system in place with some big time athletes that he's going to be able to get. What does it look like? Because we all knew when he was telling us that he's going to build the Gonzaga of the South. We knew that was just a lie. Like we knew he was leaving the first chance he got. What coach would stay, right, at a school in the SoCon? We're not Davidson and that special. Jeb always mentions his name. The dude is 1 in a million.
Yeah, I put in the story. Rick Byrd spent 33 years at Davidson. Steph Curry, Bob McKillop spent 33 years at Davidson. He was a lifer, and then Rick Byrd spent 33. They both spent 33 years at Belmont. At their respective schools. We didn't think Bucky was going to be that. Obviously, knowing the SEC is kind of like the main goal. It's what we want to get to, and then with everything we just talked about, didn't think that A&M would be the team to.
Well, he's too young. If he was at Mountain Brook till he was 50 and came over to Samford, sure, maybe he's here 15 years and then retires. But it just is going to be cool because our ceiling inherently was certainly not as high as an SEC program just in terms of roster talent. So we'll be curious to see how Bucky Ball fares. I mean, Bill Self was a big fan. He didn't want to play it. We've seen, and especially in this NCAA tournament, polarizing styles of play can be very successful. Houston's kind of found a middle ground after being so defensively heavy. They got shooters this year.
Yep.
But, I mean, for the longest time, the Syracuse zone, like there are big time programs that have made their money doing one specific thing really well. And so Bucky certainly has a shot, but we'll see. They've sucked at every sport.
Can you press for
history?
Yeah, can you press for 40 minutes against SEC teams like you would against SoCon teams? No. That's the question.
You couldn't even do it against SoCon teams. I mean,
exactly.
We were sitting there complaining.
Exactly.
To stop pressing.
Then what does he scale back? How far does he scale back? How do you kind of play that balance? Okay, this wasn't working because if it's the defense we saw last year, there's going to be a lot of open lobs and threes in the corner. Like there's going to be something you're going to have to scale back, even though it's going to be like, okay, we're going to play this way. I played this way, coach this way my whole life. Basically, it's just what kind of level of scale back do you have to do against SEC teams when you're coaching against Nate Oates, John Calipari, Bruce Pearl, basically all the best coaches in the sport, the best conference.
It's so weird to hear that.
All right, he's coaching against Bob Ritchie and Dan Earl, and now he's going to be coaching against Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl and Coach Cal. I was like, what? Oh, how did this happen?
No gimmies at Citadel.
No.
Everybody, I was reading Texas A&M like tweets and Instagram comments, and people were questioning how good Bucky was, and everybody kept saying, he's just like Nate Oates. Nate Oates was in high school 7 years ago, and he plays the same style as Nate Oates, and Nate Oates has made it work. It's like he doesn't really play the same style as Nate Oates. Yeah, he jacks up a lot of threes, and they play really fast, but he scored a lot of points. But Nate Oates doesn't press 40 minutes a game, and that's the piece that killed us this past year is not having the personnel to complete that press. And you're playing against the best guards in the country in the SEC. So if you don't perfect that press and have the personnel to perfect that press in the SEC, then you're just going to get demolished on the back end every time.
Yeah, and what kind of guys are you going to recruit in the portal? Because A&M, just like us, has one person on the roster. You got to go through the whole roster. I'm sure he'll backfill, like we said, offline with some Samford guys, but still, you had your portal misses last year. Colin Holloway was okay, but wasn't what you thought it would be. Isaiah West basically forgot how to score. Now he's moved on to Belmont. We'll see how that goes. Then you got some other guys coming in that you definitely thought.
We know how that will go.
Exactly. You didn't think they had the same potential. You had to start Josh Holloway most of the year when you probably didn't really want to until his junior year to kind of get his feet under him. What kind of guys, along with the system, we need to scale back? What kind of guys can you get in the portal to play this kind of system, these kind of athletes? You will have more money, obviously, but it can just be fascinating to watch how that all fares in kind of the first 1 to 2 years of this thing.
I think the press dies. I think something, like going back to the Duke-Houston game, probably the best defense by two college teams I've ever seen in the tournament, in a basketball game at that level. You don't press, you just play up. Like you press them 5 feet beyond the arc, right? You just start playing half-court defense as soon as they cross. Effectively does the same thing and still allows you to take advantage of playing a very intense level of defense, which is essentially all the press is. Unfortunately, the press can break down as quickly as it builds up the pressure. But I bet if we're going to see an iteration, that's probably what we see, because he's going to have the athletes where he doesn't have to press. Like we did that to mask deficiencies, right? To create chaos. But guess what's not going to change? Shooting threes. And that's what's going to be fun in the SEC is just watching a team shoot 15, 20 threes every single game. And hopefully get some good shooters. Because my goodness, 2 seasons ago when we had 3, 4, 5 guys that could just drain from deep, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
A&M fans are going to be in for a trip when they played with Buzz Williams' system last year. One like the slowest kind of paces. We can't shoot. We just bully and rebound. They're going to be hooked on like an IV high on drugs with the amount of like how fast this team will play compared to what they had to watch for Buzz and kind of the way they couldn't score. And then again, it's just fascinating to see how this would all shape up.
That's why Buzz went to the Big Ten. And Mike, to your point earlier, I think Maryland does a much better job than A&M. They have a billionaire donor for NIL. They care about basketball much more on the East Coast.
Yeah, I definitely think for basketball, it's a better opportunity than A&M because they care about basketball there. Football, Bucky said it in his press conference, football will always be king in the SEC, especially in Texas. But I think that people expect because you're in Texas, you've got all this money.
Yeah,
but
they do.
Yeah.
They don't have SMU money, but they got as much money as anybody else. It's funny. He did the video of touring the football stadium. See, like that's not what you want. Like that's just not the tone you want to set. Hey, this is our football program. It's been terrible forever, but this is what we actually care about. It's just not. Maybe the SEC is changing. Maybe I'm just stuck in what the SEC's been for the last 20 years outside of Kentucky, Tennessee, LSU, right, Florida. But who knows? Arkansas, sorry.
Yeah, and Bucky kind of brought up that money piece, like indirectly, basically. He's talking about Mark Newton at his presser today, quote, at an 80 in Mark Newton that had tremendous courage to give me the opportunity to coach in athletics. Martin told me when I told him about the job, Bucky, if you can take that job, you got to take that. You got to take that job. That job is about to be perhaps the best job in the country with the way college athletics is going with the people behind that program. Yep. So, oil money ready to spend for you, basically.
Thing is that oil money's been spending forever, and it hasn't amounted to anything but a cotton bowl with Johnny Football. Mike, I want to hear. So, you've been a Tennessee fan your whole life. You've been watching SEC basketball your whole life. What do you think culturally? Like, do you think that this shift is real? And that Bucky going to the SEC, like the SEC is going to continue being the premier conference, or what?
Well, I think it helps that you got Oklahoma and Texas because you're just bringing in more revenue. I do think the SEC is in its glory days right now with the coaches that you have in the league. Obviously, John Calipari, Rick Barnes, Bruce Pearl, incredible coaches. Chris
Todd
Beard
Golden,
is kind of up and coming. Todd Golden, up and coming.
Win a national championship in a second.
You go through the list of and I just listed all the schools that did not even include Kentucky, which Mark Pope still kind of up and coming, but it's Kentucky. It's blue blood.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, keep the faith. Yeah.
Texas has the money. Oklahoma's got the brand. I think the SEC with this whole revenue sharing thing and just the revenue side of things, I think it'll stick around. But Sam, you've made the point multiple times. Do you think things will eventually balance out and shift back towards the Big Ten? Whereas Big Ten kind of dominated football this year, it'll just kind of shift. But I don't know. I think the SEC is here to stay just because of the new NIL revenue sharing era and the current coaches we have.
Yeah, I was curious because, frankly, if it was going to teeter back towards favoring the Big Ten or the ACC, bodes well for Bucky. Because there's so many entrenched programs right now. To your point, Mike, the coaches are it's such a high level of coaches, right? Just makes the job tough. We don't have a basketball team now. Everybody's essentially in the portal. Grant, who is left?
We got 3 guys right here. That's 3. Could we go back and get our grad degrees? You guys in to go get our grad degrees? Maybe we can get some points. Get some PT for. Heck, we can coach the team too. We can be player coaches at this point. We have nobody.
As long as we're not playing Bucky ball, I don't think I can keep that pace. But
I don't think I can play a minute of Bucky ball.
Hey, coach, I'll just stand in the corner with my hands right here, ready to pull. I'll pull some threes for you. I think, can somebody else dribble for me? Zion, go dribble, and I'll stand over here for you. You mentioned those 4 guys basically 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, we're coming back. Samford made sure, okay, we're going to have these guys announced they're coming back. Cool, we're going to have this sick core. We're going to build around these four. Then their coach leaves. Then they all obviously jump in the portal, which makes sense. They come to a Samford for the coach for the most part. So after Bucky got the job, Jaden Burnell, Lucas Walls, Josh Holloway, and Riley Allensbach, those four all entered into the portal following Trey Ford, Julian Brown, Isaiah West, and Larry, who were in the portal before them. What a massive difference 2 weeks takes. Caleb Harrison, a freshman from Huntsville who redshirted last year, he joins them in the portal. So basically you get down to it, and Zion Wilburn is the only player on the roster that played any minutes whatsoever last year. Freshman or upcoming sophomore from Arizona, Compass Prep, same prep school as Jeremiah Fear, just going to the NBA. So yeah, Zion Wilburn is the only player on the roster right now who played last year.
That sucks because, like, yeah, losing Bucky is awful for so many reasons, but we were so excited about watching those three sophomores enter into their junior year, become the leaders of this team. We've got Caleb Harrison, this highly anticipated redshirt freshman. You got all this hype around the team. Not only do we lose our coach, we literally have nothing to look forward to. Nothing to it's gone. It's done.
The new era is terrible.
Yeah, and the portal's already open, and then players, when their coach leaves, get an additional 30 days. So, like, anytime their coach leaves, they get 30 days into the portal too. So Zion obviously has plenty of time to go jump in. Yeah, it's a balance of no one's going to wait around and see who the coach is. We're going to jump in the portal, check out all of our options, and then maybe we'll come back and see who the coach is, even if we're considering coming back to Samford or not.
Which just goes to the broader point that these players want support from the fan bases, right? They want love. They don't want to be held accountable. And yet, time and time again, whether it's Samford or even A&M, who this exact same situation is occurring to now, coach leaves, entire team is gone. No loyalty to the university. When you make a decision based purely on money, you get all the pros and cons that come with that. And one of the cons is absolutely zero loyalty from the fan base, but all the expectations to perform.
I think it was John who posted that video of Coach Cal talking about last year when he got hired. It's like, I had a meeting today. I had no players. This is what the new coach would jump in, basically saying, I have no players. I saw John tweet that was pretty good. But
yeah,
so
you can't blame the players in this era. They're just taking advantage of the opportunity.
Mike.
But
you can definitely blame them. Blame is the wrong word. You can you accept their decision, but you don't have to agree with their decision. You don't have to like their decision.
That's fine.
I really don't like their decision.
We're just talking about the money themselves that Samford would have had is now with the coach that he raised. So I don't know. Obviously, we don't know how much money or whatever the balance is of the collective or whatnot, but who knows?
Wait. So what do you mean the money that he raised?
Bucky doesn't own the collective.
No, I'm saying if he's got the donors, that basically we were only paying. We were only
it doesn't go with.
It
doesn't follow Bucky. It's just gone.
Not literally goes with him, but literally like the thought of, okay, we're donating to this guy because he's here. This is our guy. We've known him our whole lives, and he goes off. Does that money go with him? Do they spend that money? Like, do they care about spending money on A&M's NIL when they really don't need the Mountain Brook people help, or does Samford get to keep that money, or does the new coach get to keep that money?
I don't think Mountain Brook's going to be donating to A&M.
I think that money is going back in the bank. I think that money is going back in the bank.
Yeah. It might not go to Samford, to your point, Grant. It might disappear.
Yeah, so the thought of the money goes with them.
Station.
The thought of the money goes with them, but what they're going to spend to Samford, they're just going to keep. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, that's the new coach. Forget recruiting. The new coach's first job is going to get the donor base back on board, because it's a tenuous situation.
That's what Bucky did so well.
Again, also to that point, all these guys in the portal, okay, if they're chasing $10,000, whatever Samford was paying them, it wasn't much. A few of them, sure, pretty good penny. But for the most part, I mean, give me a break. Like, we're going to be able to raise whatever we did for the minimum of what the guys were getting.
Yeah, well, maybe these guys getting like $10,000 a month at Samford.
That was alleged, and that was only. I don't think that was the entire team.
And who knows what they got to publicly announce and basically quote sign that they're coming back, whether they keep that or whether Like, when does that go into effect?
It just
Heck no.
cracks me up because Jeb and I
Recoup that
talked
money
about
with
this,
interest.
and I think we've talked about this. I'm sure they've built up a nice network of people through their AAU days and their travel ball, whatever, and whatnot. But now that we're out of college, you make a little network within your industry for sure. Um, but you know how I got to Atlanta? You know how I got my awesome job? Is a Samford friend. You know what I mean? Like, people discount the monetary value of said network that takes years to develop. And these guys flush it down the drain at the mid-major level for 10, 20 grand. The long-term play is not there. And I understand the time value of money. Um, but staying in a community, committing to a community does pay off financially in the long run.
Why do you think the Stanford Business School basically beats into you're making a LinkedIn page so you can go network with other people, basically?
Literally.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, coaching targets. Let's talk about who we're going to replace Bucky with, our favorite coach ever at Samford.
We went through the 5 stages of grief. Good job, guys.
I'm just bitter.
Denial, anger is step 2. So you're still step 2. Mike and Aaron, depression, step 4, and then we'll get to acceptance. Who knows when acceptance will come?
The sad reality of the 5 stages of grief is that it's not real grief and never really leaves you. So we will always be thinking about Bucky.
Yeah, because we outkicked our coverage and we're never going to get it. We're just never going to.
We definitely outkicked our coverage. We found the diamond in the rough, and she left us quick.
You know what this feels like? This feels like you're dating the top cheerleader in high school, and you're scrub, and she goes and starts dating the quarterback, and you're like, you feel left out, but you're also like, you know what? I never really deserved her anyways, and I'm never going to get anything. I'm never going to get that back. You know,
and that quarterback is kind of a jerk. She's not going to spend long with him because he's not going to be nice.
He's
in
a cult. The quarterback's in a cult.
Well, it's really that girl turned into the head cheerleader by senior year. You know, like, you found the diamond in the rough, and then she left you as soon as she was pretty enough to leave you.
That's fair.
You recruited her, and then she developed into a 5-star and went to another school.
It's tough being a mid-major out here. It's tough being a low mid-major at that point, at that rate as well.
Yeah, we're not a mid-major. We're a low major.
We're a low mid-major. There's 300-something teams.
We were a low mid-major under Bucky. Now we're flirting with the 300s.
That's true. We could fall back to the doldrums. That's AD Newton's got a tough job in front of him.
So we're going from a 5-star girlfriend to 3-star girlfriend. Cool. That's gonna be fun.
If we go to 3-star, we're chilling.
I would love a 3-star. Yeah, 3-star's great.
It's Dan Earl. We got Dan Earl on the squad.
Just give us a star.
Come on. Give us a Dan Earl.
Shout out Butch Jones. We just want 5-star hearts.
We want a guy who goes from SoCon school to SoCon school, not SoCon school to SEC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't chase the. We've been this analogy.
Who are we going after, Grant? Who are we going?
A bunch of 5-stars. No, sorry, I couldn't help myself. I put out a coaching hot board on the website. Mitch Cole, if you went with internal, is the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Grant. Internal, but he's already been announced at A&M as Bucky's right-hand guy, so I don't think he would really come back, or depending on when that contract cuts in or not. Like, who really knows?
Hard to say.
Interesting.
It's possible.
Just before we get to the other candidates, interesting from twice today, Bucky in his press conference and in a post-press conference interview made a comment about Mitch Cole following him to A&M and giving up a D1 head coaching opportunity.
The nature of college athletics has changed.
I assume he's talking about A&M, or I assume he's talking about Samford. Does that mean that you think we offered Mitch Cole the job, or do you think he was just on the short list?
I think we completely offered him the job.
I didn't want Mitch
that's
Cole,
just an inkling.
Yeah, no reason. Yeah, he would just be the top internal option, the guy who's been a head coach before. But again, he was on Billy Kennedy's staff at A&M from 2011 to 2016, so he's fully good reason why he's following Bucky, kind of show him the ropes in College Station and whatnot. So
yeah, we got a burger over here, we got Dairy Queen right there, and we got a Bucky's down the street, just like you, Bucky.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. The second candidate I have, and I think probably my favorite, Mick Hedgebeth, the coach at Alabama Huntsville, just 35 years old. He just finished his first season at at UAH. He went 32-2 this past year. Was named the Gulf South Conference Coach of the Year. Both of their losses came to Nova Southeastern. They lost by 1 to Nova Southeastern OT to start the year, and then had their season ended by Nova. And then at Berry College in Sewanee, he was a combined 80 and 31 before that. So a young guy, but still a lot of head coaching experience. They score a lot of points. UAH was 15th in D2 in points per game with 88. They were 11th in 3-point percentage with 39% from the three. Then they're second in overall field goal percentage, 52%. And then they scored 80 points in 27 of their 34 games. He's also played his high school ball in Alabama, had a great career at Belmont. He would be my kind of guy to look to if you want to keep that kind of same high-flying offense that we've grown accustomed to.
I guess that begs the question, what kind of coach do you want? Do you want an up-and-comer who will be having the same conversation in 2 seasons? Or do you want someone who might stick around? Like, what trade-offs do you make? I think there's merit to several options, but
yeah,
want to hear y'all's thoughts.
Much anybody other than like a retread, basically a guy who's been a head coach like in the pre-NIL era and wants to make a comeback, basically kind of would be the kind of guy. I really don't want to look to that guy who really hasn't coached in this kind of day and age. I really would kind of go with the younger guy, which is basically where I would kind of lean to Mick, who's only 35.
Mike?
Yeah, I think there's like 3 options. I think there's the up and coming, which would be Mick. There's the kind of established, been in the league for a while, like the Lipscomb head coach. And then there's the guys that, in my opinion, like Mitch Cole, who have coached, maybe didn't really have a ton of success, but have experience, and they're kind of just boring hires. So I think it just depends on the personality for me. I think what I've heard about the Lipscomb coach, which we haven't gotten there yet, but apparently he's got kids in Alabama, grandkids, maybe a son that coaches at Montevallo or something like that, and he's older. So it feels like, this is from my friend Josh, if he were to come to Samford, he's probably going to coach here for 10 years and then retire. So we'd have some consistency, and he's a good coach. He's been at Lipscomb for a while. They just made the tournament this year. So, there's that side of the thing, or there's the Mick Hedgepath, which is like the up and coming, and he's probably going to move up in a couple of years if things go well.
Whichever coach can convince the donors to keep giving, that's the one you want. Because you could have the worst system in the world, but if you got top 3 talent in the SoCon, you'll have a shot to go to the NCAA tournament each year.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm curious. I mean, Newton's got a tough spot, or isn't a tough spot, but at the same time, he's got Beck Taylor. So this is one of the first times where the administration is going to be just as hell-bent on getting the right guy in the spot, which is good. And he nailed his last hire in the softball coach, because we're rolling.
He actually has a president that knows what's going on in the athletic offices.
And sees sports as an avenue to overall university success. Yeah.
Right at the end, I can get to kind of their statements and what they said when Bucky was out the door.
Yeah,
but going down the list of guys, a sitting D1 head coach messaged me and said that we should kind of look at this guy, Andrew Golfsky. He's a assistant coach at Chattanooga, just finished his 3rd year at Chat. He played at Birmingham Southern, who under the coach who replaced Mitch Cole in 2011. He's worked as Campbell as a DBO before joining Dan Earl's staff at VMI. When then came over to Chat for Earl's a time there. He's kind of been kind of the lead assistant. He's played a major role in recruiting the roster this past year and talking to the people down there. So he would be another option if you want to kind of find a young coach who doesn't have head coaching experience, but again, knows how to build a roster, and maybe he's ready to go kind of get a big job.
I can forgive the bad, drawn up play at the end of the game, the bad strategy call, the bad timeout, whatever. If you can get ballers in there, that's what'll give you the best shot to win. And if that was one of the key recruiters, because that talent has never been Dan Earl's problem. That'd be a very strong hire. Not knowing anything else about that guy.
The head coach messaged me. You guys should absolutely be looking at Golfsky. He sends us head coach at Chat. A beast! ! Could be similar to Bucky, different but elite in many categories. Mainly winning, a great coach. Also, he grew up and played college ball right there nearby Samford at Birmingham. So I didn't even know the coach followed.
It'd be really funny if we went Birmingham Southern.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyone else?
A couple of guys. We'll go and get to who Mike was talking about right now. Lenny Acuff at Lipscomb, just turned 60 years old. Like Mike said, led Lipscomb to the NCAA tournament this past year. They went 25-10, 14-4 in ASUN play. They just had their third straight 20-win season. He's also has experience in Alabama. He was the head coach at Alabama Huntsville from 1997 to 2019. He became
Just
the
throw him a
all-time win.
bag.
Exactly. He's been the all-time winningest coach in the Gulf
Forget the
South Conference.
UTC guy. I want this guy.
He went 437 and 214 at UAH, and like Mike said, his daughter lives in Birmingham. His son is assistant coach at Montevallo. He knows the state very well. Would bring over 35 years of coaching, 32 years of being a head coach, and he just made the tournament. So would he be looking to kind of make a move going back to where he spent most of his time in the same state of Alabama?
Yeah. At the same time, he's got the program rolling up in Nashville. So.
It's tough. Yeah, tough to make almost a lateral move. I think Samford's probably a little bit better of a program opportunity than Lipscomb, but when you've already got a roster there and you're coming off success, like, does he have the energy to come in and recruit 10, 15 guys year one and start from scratch, get to know a whole new donor base? I mean, he's sitting in Green Hills. It's not a poor area. I'm sure they've got decent little, Church of Christ money is not, it's not short up there in Green Hills. So
That's right.
Yeah. Oh. So if you want a guy with more experience who has a winning track record, he would be the guy to look to. Again, would he want to make a move, or is he comfortable there at Lipscomb?
Who else we got, Grant?
I won't go through all the list. If you want to go check him out, you can go to thestateofthebulldogs.com. Hopefully we find a coach by the time this episode drops. One candidate, one of our favorite guys who followed me on Twitter earlier in the year, Trey Montgomery. He's a assistant coach at Colgate. He played at Samford from 2006 to 2010. Finished his career with over 1,000 points and more than 350 boards, 200 assists, and 100 steals. He made 88 consecutive starts to finish his career. Also, never been a head coach. He was a great leader on and off the court. Won multiple off-court awards at Samford, not sports related, but basically university related. So he's kind of heralded. He would come back to his alma mater again. He's never been a head coach, but another young guy who's in his mid-30s who could be looking forward to kind of coming back down south and becoming a head coach of his alma mater.
That'd be cool.
He seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, he does.
Let's hear the statements. And then we'll wrap it up with State of the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and then one more coach. This coach, someone else floated out to me again. I don't think you would move, but he's older at 69. Nova Southeastern's guy. He's kind of set down there. Jim Crutchfield.
I think we're good. 69 years old.
He just won his second D2 title in the last 3 years. Again, he's a little bit older, but he is a winner. But he is pretty comfortable down there in Florida. So you would call to gauge his interest, but I think he's pretty set at just kind of being a legend there at Nova Southeastern, winning all those games and winning championships with our guy Dallas Graziani.
My vote is Stephen Pearl, personally, if I had to make a pick.
Yeah, that'd be hype. That'd be a splash high. All right, Grant. Statements. AD, president.
So yeah, those are the kind of the guys Samford looks for again. Hopefully we find a coach by the time this drops, or else we're going to be in trouble.
Are we really supposed to find a coach that quickly?
If we don't have a coach by Friday, it's a problem.
We're like one of the last teams in the country that doesn't have a coach. So
Samford might be the best job open in the country, and there's like 4 jobs open. We're the best one. Central Michigan, Denver, and a couple others. It's like Samford might be the best open job.
That's funny.
See, when Bucky got announced at Texas A&M, Martin Newton, and again, also never president, put out a statement. I don't think our last president did that when Padgett got fired. Martin Newton, I want to thank Bucky for all he's given to Samford University and the men's basketball program. The past 5 years have been a special period in our program's history. We wish Bucky the best in his new endeavor and look forward to conducting a national search with the goal of keeping Samford among the premier Division I programs in the nation. And then Beck Taylor quote, Samford will be forever indebted to Bucky McMillan for reestablishing the Samford men's basketball program's tradition of excellence. Even more than the exciting brand of basketball he brought to Homewood or the championships won, I will personally be most grateful for the way Bucky represented Samford's values and Christian mission. Our disappointment in losing our head coach is matched by only our desire to see Bucky succeed at the highest levels.
I love the president speak there. Our tradition of excellence. I think he's mistaken a short run of excellence in the 90s and 2000s.
We've only been excellent since he's been here.
Yeah. He if anything, he established a tradition of excellence, but it's not a tradition until someone else can pick up the mantle and run with it.
No, I'm saying we've only been excellent since Beck has been here.
Yes. Oh,
He knows.
I don't
He
know.
knows no different.
Maybe it's sports. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's sports. All right, let's get to State of the Bulldogs. This was a depressing thing to talk about. So let's talk about something happy. Grant, you got softball. Mike, you got tennis. I'll run through baseball. So we almost upset top 10 Bama last week in the midweek. We lost 9-11, but we swept Wofford in a big series this weekend, including 2 run rule games. Ince, McDonald, Gupton, Harris, Souders, and Higgins all homered in the series. Riggins pitched 7 shutout innings, only giving up 3 hits. Was named SoCon Pitcher of the Week. And then freshman pitcher Mason, I never get the name right, Blash,
Yep.
pitched 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs. Kid is a stud. We got West Georgia tomorrow. It's Monday, so we got them on Tuesday after this airs, or before this airs, and then Citadel at home this weekend. Citadel's a pretty solid squad, sitting at 141 RPI. Looking at the SoCon overall, ETSU dropped to 69. Remember, they were in the 30s. They were like 33, I think, last week. So pretty big drop down to 69. Samford's right there at 70. Mercer 73. So still the top 3 teams analytics wise. Wofford at 113. Western 125. UNCG 129. Citadel 141. So it's a pretty, I mean, all things considered, still very competitive conference. And then VMI bringing up the rear 247. But Grant, softball.
Speaking of baseball decided a 3rd straight pitcher of the week with Miller Riggins being named pitcher of the week. Another pretty cool honor, 3 in a row. Softball's 26-15 on the season. They lost the same time Samford lost to Bama. They're both in Tuscaloosa at the same time, 9-3. Then they turn around and say, SoCon play, this will be easy. They swept ETSU with Partain pitched a 5-inning shutout in game 1 and game 3. Softball scored 11 runs in the first game, 9 in the second game of a doubleheader on Saturday, and then 10 in the third game of the series. So they put up again another series of double-digit runs after the touchdowns they put up all over Western Carolina last week. They traveled to Georgia for the midweek before going on the road to UNCG. This will be a fun series. UNCG is 30-10 on the season. They're 54th in RPI. So again, it'll be fun for Samford to kind of go on the road and kind of test against a team who's ahead of them in the RPI. Going down the RPI, UNCG is at 54. Samford is at 71 with Chattanooga at 68. Mercer is at 100. Wofford is 106th. Western Carolina is 154th. Then FU Furman is at 207th with ETSU bringing up the bottom at 244th.
And tennis, Mike.
Tennis, yeah, men's tennis. Shocking loss to ETSU. Lost 6-1 this past week, which is really sad. Considering we were undefeated in the league heading into this match. So 6-1 is knocked 5-1 behind Mercer, who's 5-0 undefeated. We've got Mercer coming up this week. So if we beat Mercer, I think we might then take the league. So we'll see.
I think so.
Tournament, SoCon tournament is next weekend, I think April 16th to the 18th. And then the women's not doing so well, lost to Furman and Wofford this past weekend, traveling to Mercer and then ETSU to wrap up the season, with the SoCon tournament also being April 16th to the 18th.
Well, hopefully, according to Grant, we'll have a basketball coach when this drops on Wednesday. Otherwise, everybody just avoid the Texas A&M Twitter sphere.
I can't. It's all over my feed. I can't do anything about it.
Well, that's what's the problem. The algorithm has tagged Bucky in all of our feeds, so we'll be getting him until, I guess, we don't. But with that, say the Bulldogs is out. Baseball, softball, please give us something to hope for.
Thanks, Winter Soldier, for all you did. 5 years.